Welcome to the Pennywine Podcast with Mike, Jake, Josh, and Tosh.
I saw you posted that you already have Oktoberfest. What's up with that? How'd you do that?
I don't know. The Publix down here has Oktoberfest, but I went to like the ABC Liquor and they don't have any of the fall stuff. It's just Sam Adams that has Oktoberfest out. So
I can't find it anywhere. I saw your photo and I was like, oh, I'm so jealous. I gotta go to some Oktoberfest. And I went everywhere and I couldn't find any. And I'm like, that jerk has Oktoberfest. And
it came out last week at some point. Well, last week I went to Publix and I was like, I want to try something different. I was going to try that White Claw stuff, the seltzer everyone's talking about. And then I saw this was there and I threw the White Claw down and I had to get some Oktoberfest.
All right. Well, I even tried at Applebee's and, they didn't even have it. So, and if Applebee's doesn't have it, it must not exist.
Yeah, well, they still have all the summer flavored beers they're trying to get rid of. They're like, please buy it before it expires.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to convince me. She was like, you can get the summer ale. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So anyways, so we got 4 amazing movies for you all this week. We got The Exorcist. We got In Fear. We got Wishmaster. And Creepshow.
Yes.
Tosh was sitting there mouthing it to me because I couldn't remember. So
I had trouble remembering In Fear. Like, I couldn't remember the title of that movie for the life of me.
It's kind of like It Follows, but In Fear. So it's like...
Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah, but it's a better movie than It Follows.
It is.
Mm.
Okay. Well, we're going to do that one last. So we talked about it, and I think the order we're going to do is Exorcist, and then Wishmaster, and then Creepshow, and then In Fear last. So,
sounds good to me.
If this is your first time listening, first of all, thank you. Second of all, we edit it so that you can skip between different parts of the podcast if you just want to listen to the review of one movie. We edit it that way so that you all can skip around. But all right, let's get going on The Exorcist. So Josh recommended it, and he's missing this week. So I guess, Jake, if you want to summarize it, since you're Josh's stand-in. We don't have a village idiot this week, so.
Hey, now I can fill in for Josh over here.
You can overtalk anybody.
No,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, Josh was sadly murdered. He'll be back next month, though.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna resurrect him,
Yeah.
we're gonna bury him in the pet cemetery and see how that works.
drag him out.
Yeah, so The Exorcist, there's this priest that's in like Egypt or somewhere, and then he's digging stuff or whatever, and then it cuts to this actress woman who has a little girl, and then they're hanging out, and then it cuts to this other preacher that's like hanging out with his mom who's sick, and he doesn't believe in Jesus anymore, and then a bunch of stuff happens that I don't remember, and then the little girl gets possessed by Pazuzu, and then all the cool scenes happen in the bedroom, and then the one priest both priests die, but the one like kind of has a redemption arc, and then he falls out a window and down some stairs. The end.
Pretty good summary.
Yes, that was the whole movie.
So how did you feel about it, since you're taking the floor at the moment?
Yeah, I've seen it a few times, probably 3 or 4 total in all time. The last time I watched it was for 2016.
Yeah.
Before the Halloween Horror Nights house.
Yep.
And the last time I watched it, I don't know if I wasn't in the right mood or whatever, but I was kind of bored. I was like, I like the iconic scenes, pretty much everything that happens in the bedroom. But this time, I loved it. This time, I was really into it. I thought I was more attached to Father Karras, the priest, because I was more attached to his story, because I kind of felt like he had a good arc throughout the story, so I was more invested in that this time. And I thought the movie was kind of ahead of its time in its use of like jump scares, not like what you would consider modern jump scares, but it did a lot of like there would be a scene of two people talking, and then the scene would just end with a cut of like a train going by, and it would be like 50 times louder. So it had a lot of that type of stuff that kind of surprised me this time.
Yeah, it was a pioneer. It was a pioneer when it comes to jump scares. So I was like, what? When I watched it, I was like, what's up? But yeah, no, I felt the same way when I watched it in 2016. It was a little slow. It was a little bit better this time around, but I know that whenever you're critical of this movie, the horror community really doesn't like it because they're like, The Exorcist is the #1 horror movie of all time.
Scariest movie of all time or whatever.
That's what everyone says. Like, you look up a bunch of lists on Google, like,
It's
scariest
always, like,
movies of all time. It's always #1. Everybody's like, so scary. But, like, even a mediocre one that comes out nowadays, in my opinion, is scarier. I mean, I know if, like, the one person watching this or listening to this is going to get mad, but it's like, I think that a movie like The Conjuring is scarier than The Exorcist. Like, it scares me a lot more. Neither one of them scare me that much, but, like, if I'm going to be scared, I'd rather watch The Conjuring.
Honestly, I don't think either one is really scary, but I had still a hard time focusing even this time because I already knew what was going to happen. I mean, it's still kind of funny on certain scenes.
Yeah. Or, another thing is, like, you aren't scared unless you watch home invasion movies.
Yep.
So that's the only genre that actually scares you. You like slashers, you like possession, you like ghost movies to an extent. But yeah, you're only scared by home invasion movies. You can't really say, like, you can't really judge the scariness of any movie.
No, it's true. I can't.
See, I didn't start watching horror movies until I was 16, so about 10 years ago. Well, exactly 10 years ago. But Tosh has been watching them since she was like a little baby. So
Yeah.
just grew up with the Freddy movies and stuff.
Yeah,
And I got Jake into horror movies when we worked together at Impact. I brought him over to the house and I had him watch Insidious, him and Josh together. They were like, whoa, this is like a whole new genre for me, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I had seen some of the movies. Like, before that, I was into Nightmare on Elm Street because I'm really into, like, comedy and kind of dark comedy. So it like the really campy 80s horror movies I was fine with because they weren't scary. But I actually just remembered the first time I saw The Exorcist, I was, I think, 12 or 13. I was in middle school. My friend made me watch it, and I remember I wasn't scared of it because I wasn't really into horror back then. It was probably one of the first horror movies I'd ever seen, actually. But, like, just some of the imagery in it, like the head turning around, and, like, I think the movie did very well in kind of very quick horror. Like,
Yeah.
it would just show her, like, the scene with the cross and her, the Jesus scene. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny to watch now, but it's still just the thought of that is just, oh, it makes me cringe. But, like, I think the movie did very well in that, and I mean, it left an impression on me at, like, 12 or 13 whenever I first watched it. I remembered those iconic scenes kind of forever after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can.
I felt like when I watched it that the characters, like, nobody was extraordinary or anything, like, as far as, like, me latching on to a specific character. Cinematography was pretty good. The sound design's really good. But overall, I did feel like that the movie wasn't as entertaining as I expected it to be, especially revisiting it from 2016. Like, okay, I got a more refined horror taste now. I watch a lot of indie horror movies. I'm used to slow movies. We had a week of movies already in this podcast, or a month. I keep saying a week, but we had a month of scary movies that were way, way, way slower than The Exorcist, and still this movie felt slow to me.
But
It's definitely the slowest one in the pack for me.
But yeah, it is slow, but it's one that everyone should at least watch once.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Everybody that's a fan of horror should see it.
It is a classic. So.
Yeah, I think. Well, like I said already, I really enjoyed this more this time. Like the Father Karras, the priest, I thought he had. It was kind of a tragic story for him because like he was struggling with his own personal faith and his personal issues, and then his mom was sick, so he was dealing with that, and then he was kind of brought in to help Reagan, and then he essentially kind of like sacrificed himself. I thought he was really the only character that I thought had any redeemable qualities, really, because the mom, she was just a normal person, and then she was sad that her daughter was sick, and the other priest just kind of showed up. I forgot how little he was in this movie. He's only in it for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah. Also, I'll never forgive this movie for the pea soup smell.
Oh, yeah.
Horror
Oh,
Nights.
my goodness.
Because now that room still smells like pea soup to this day.
Yeah.
I do like the theme song of The Exorcist. I think it has a catchy theme song.
True.
And Halloween came out later, but it always makes me think of the Halloween
Yes.
theme song.
Which is another great one.
Yeah.
And then, have you guys seen Scary Movie 2?
Yes, I love that one. That one's my favorite.
I haven't seen any of the scary movies.
What?
Well, sorry, go ahead, Tasha.
Yeah, the opening scene, you have to watch it. It's hilarious. The opening scene.
Actually, you normally don't like comedies.
This one's hilarious.
Well, it's like a spoof of horror movies, so I feel like it's up Tasha's alley.
Just the first two. I only like the first two. I don't like any other ones.
The third one was okay, but it wasn't as good.
No.
But the reason I brought it up is because the opening scene is like a direct parody of The Exorcist, and I was just thinking about Scary Movie 2 the entire time watching it, just because I've seen that movie way more than The actual Exorcist.
Same. I would have to agree with that.
Like the scene when they're all singing at the piano and she comes down and pees on the floor. I just, in Scary Movie 2, it's like Shake Your Ass by Mystical. They're like,
yeah.
And it's just so funny. I'm projecting the parody onto the actual movie, but it made me enjoy The Exorcist more.
You'll have to watch it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I'll have to.
I mean, it has the guy who played Hades from Hercules as the priest. So
Okay. Well, what you have to do is recommend like one of like the first scary movie or something.
Not this round. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Maybe side note, maybe we should do a special episode of like our favorite horror parody or horror comedy.
Okay.
Like, ooh, yeah.
1 month.
Maybe that would be a good one to follow October. Where we're gonna do like a lot of the high quality horror in October to try to
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we have the September podcast, I'll probably recommend like Trick or Treat or something like Halloween themed. So that way when we do the podcast in October, we'll have that. So yeah, no, I agree with you, Jake.
So you're changing yours completely now?
No, I'm talking about for the next month. Yeah.
Okay.
You're not
All
thinking
right.
through it right. It's August now, and so when I recommend it, the one that I recommend today is the one we talk about in September, right? So when we do the September one, I recommend Trick or Treat because the episode is coming out in October.
Okay. All right. Let's proceed. So, is there anything else we should discuss on this one?
I mean, I like grilled cheese.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie overall. I definitely see its influence in other future horror movies, and I don't really get why people still think it's the scariest movie ever, other than the religious aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the people that say it's the scariest movie ever are very religious people.
Yeah. Either that or they're looking at nostalgia.
Well, the thing is, I've seen more possession movies that are scarier than that one.
I think it's like a combination of what Jake was saying and nostalgia. Like people saw it when they were a kid, it scared them. They remember that experience, and then they overrate the heck out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how a lot of the people like Detective Pikachu, but it's kind of a crappy movie. So then it's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I loved Pokemon. But if they saw that movie and they'd never seen it, they'd be like, this is crap.
Okay. So should we go ahead and rank it?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one because it's going to be an instant dislike for the video. You know, we haven't had one dislike yet on any of our videos. So go
Because
ahead.
we're very professional.
Go ahead, random person, but I'm going to give The Exorcist a 5 out of 10. Average movie.
That's exactly what I'm giving it. It's a 5.
I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 after this viewing because I think yes, the last third of the movie is the good part, but I had more appreciation for the first 2/3 this time and kind of the story leading up to it.
Okay.
All right.
So Wishmaster.
Wishmaster. So Tasha recommended it.
No, I did. Don't
Tasha-
put words in Tasha's mouth.
It was Tasha. She did it.
Nope. Even though my favorite actor does play in it, so.
Well, I'm messing up this one. All right, so Jake recommended it. So you summarize again, my friend.
Yeah, so basically it opens with like 3 paragraphs you have to read on the history of these genies. They're called Jinn. They're like old as time, and they're like evil genies that grant wishes, but they try to find ways to ruin it and kill people and basically like destroy mankind. And it starts the genie is trapped inside of a gemstone in like the Dark Ages, and then this drunk guy throws a statue off a boat and the gem falls out, and then this woman breathes on it and somehow unleashes this demon, and then he a lot of 90s music plays and there's a bum fight, and she kills him with children's logic basically, and that's about it.
And the moral of the story is be careful what you wish for.
Pretty much.
Because he interprets everything as like a lawyer would or something. He's like interpreting it literally with the most
it's
worst intent.
Yeah, the he technically does grant your wish, but it's like if you, I think one guy says, I don't want to see this, so he blinds him or something.
Yeah.
It's that type of wishing, I guess.
Yeah. And he can only do anything to you if you wish for something. And he can also apparently phrase it like a question, like, do you want to do this? Do you want to be a magician? And then he'll like teleport him into like a thing where he drowns to death because he doesn't know how to escape it and stuff.
Yeah, the rules of the wishing were a little, well, there were several plot errors and issues in this movie, and you just had to ignore them. But it was mainly like the main girl who was, I guess she was the main girl, the Alex, I think her name was. She was the main character because she released the demon, but they never explained how her breathing on the gem released the demon. And then she gets like 3 wishes, but I think she actually says like 5 or 6 wishes throughout the course of the movie.
No, I don't think so. I think she only does 3. Because she accidentally wishes herself in the gem, and then she wishes herself out. And then her last wish is for like him to have never gotten out of the cube.
But before that, remember the scene where the Jinn blows his head off? She's like, I wish you would blow your brains out or whatever. Maybe she got like
She got
an
a free
extra
wish. Yeah, he said he told her that he would give her a free wish.
No.
Right before he blew his brains out. I guess he could have lied though. That would have been funny.
Well, honestly, didn't. She got that free wish.
Yeah, she did. I'm just saying, like, that was a lot to stake the future of the world on. So if he would have won, would he have just like taken over the world or something? Like, you know, would have been like the whole world is like it is inside of his gemstone.
Well, I think he just would have eventually killed all of mankind, like one by one.
Yeah.
I guess, but yeah, I guess once you kill the person that freed you, do you just go around killing everyone else? like who's your next target.
Yeah. So I couldn't understand like how big the stakes were, because I didn't know. Okay, do you want to take over the world or do you want to delete everyone? Because if you delete everyone, you're just going to be kind of sitting in Indian style on the surface of the earth, and it'll be kind of boring. Maybe he'll move on to deer afterwards. Like, you want to eat that grass? And they'll be like, yeah. And then they'll like make him explode because it's like too much grass.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie overall. I will say that I had
Yes.
fun. I had fun watching it. It has a lot of plot holes, and the plot just doesn't make any sense. But it was fun, and I was into the mythology, like
Yes.
like just how we discussed like the rules because they didn't really explain it. I was interested in it because I wanted to know more about it, more about kind of the rules of the djinn and the wishing and everything.
Yeah.
It was definitely. I thought the actor playing the djinn was the best one of the main cast.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
So it was one of those movies I was rooting for the villain the entire time.
Yeah. Well, it's really campy. So, like, I can excuse more plot points when a movie is kind of funny and kind of, like, not going for that serious tone. It's not as funny as, like, Zombievers. It's not, like, the tone isn't quite that. But it's definitely not in a serious vein. And I can cut a movie a lot of slack if in my head it falls into that like silly category. If I'm like categorizing as that the whole time, I won't even remember as many of the flaws because I don't view it in the same way anymore. You guys feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a Wes Craven movie, right? I don't know if he directed it. He was involved in some way with it.
Yeah, I think he was involved. I don't think he directed it.
Why were we supposed to care that much about like her little sister or whatever? Because a lot of the tension of that scene where he was going after her kind of hinged on that. And I didn't even remember like what she looked like at that point because I barely had seen her or like didn't really care about her automatically. So I was like,
yeah, I think
I cared about the guy at the door that got teleported into the thing more than I cared about her little sister.
Kane Hodder, the security guard.
Yeah,
Jason.
because at least he was trying to keep the guy out. Like he was trying to defend the woman, and it's like you're not on the list, you don't get in. I loved how Fermi was about that. Actually, I thought that was pretty funny.
I thought it was also funny, like abiding by the wish rules that are very vague. Kane Hodder, the security guard, just goes, "I wish you would leave," and then the djinn just kind of acts like he's being turned around against his own will, like he's being forced to leave. It was just, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he's like, "You want to get in here? You're gonna have to go through me," and he literally goes through him.
Well, I think he had to phrase it like, "I would love to see you walk through me," or something like that.
Yeah, because
You
he
have
had
to
to
phrase
explain
it.
it.
in a way where no one would ever say it. Really.
Yeah, like that was something else I noticed. Like the way people phrased
Yeah.
things to make them sound like wishes. It's like nobody speaks
No,
like that.
Yeah, there was an episode of The Fairly Odd Parents that this movie reminded me of that had like the genie that would always interpret the wishes literally like that, give people like the thing that they don't want. But it's kind of a cliche that was started by Aladdin, right? Like like that's kind of what Jafar did, isn't it?
No.
No.
We got
So the guy
everything
said he
wrong.
wanted treasure, and he didn't teleport him underwater with treasure.
That was just
So
Jafar.
that was
That was just Jafar being a douche.
I know, but that's. I mean,
You
he was
can't
literally
count him
doing the
as the
same thing.
actual genie.
Well,
He was genius.
the movie was definitely influenced by Aladdin because they directly reference it. Because when the woman explains, no, I'm not saying that it's like Aladdin. I'm saying the whole idea of the genie.
Oh no, it's not you. It's Mike. He's being a brat.
She smashed my foot because I looked at her when he said that, like, I'm right.
If you listeners could see the smug look on Mike's face right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I'm the
I just
worst.
had a hard time following that movie, to be honest.
Wishmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Mike said earlier, they did not do a good job making us care about the main cast.
Yeah.
Like the main actress, something about her, she just didn't have that leading woman quality. Like
Yeah.
she didn't have a charismatic personality. She didn't. I didn't really want to watch her do anything. I didn't care if she lived or died. And the same with the sister and her like friend zone friend that wanted to be her boyfriend at the beginning. The first one that died.
Yeah.
I think his name was Josh, actually. So that's what happened to Josh this week. He was killed by the djinn. But yeah, they didn't really give us any reason to care about them. But then, like when the sister was trapped in the painting, we were supposed to feel scared for her. And then at the end, when she kind of reverses the timeline and Josh is alive again, we're supposed to be happy that they're finally together. It's like, I don't care. These people were in maybe one scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
This isn't earned.
Yes, I cared about some of the extras more than them. Like the guy that was at the store. That was like they had a very realistic conflict with each other, and then he accidentally wished that the other guy like had cancer or something.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, and then like that happened. I felt that scene more than any other scene in the whole movie. Like I felt the chemistry between those two actors. I believed their interaction, and then I believed like in everything that pretty much happened. I was like, cool. I thought that dude was gonna abuse it though. Afterwards, I thought it'd be really funny if he was like, "Oh, that dude died, yes," and then he went around wishing other people would, and the genie's like, "Heck yeah!"
Well, I think, I thought that scene was fun because like when the shopkeeper, the pharmacist, and the bum were just like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was hysterical.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene. I think overall, if I look back at this movie, since I've only seen it once in like a year, that's the one scene I'll remember from the movie. That and when she teleports in the gemstone. That's like the two things I remember about it.
Yeah, that and the other thing I thought was funny is when the djinn reveals his true, like his look to Alex for the first time, she goes, "Oh shit," and then he goes, "It has hit the fan," or something like that, like basically saying the shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
That was just very cringeworthy, so I will remember that.
Yeah. Let me think. Did I have anything else for this one? This one, I thought this one was pretty good. Like you said, the main character wasn't as relatable. I thought that the cinematography in this one was a little too close. A lot of times I always felt like I wanted to see more of the environment that they were in and stuff like that. So I felt a little claustrophobic in the movie. Not a huge negative, but I did want to mention that some of the boring stuff, but some of the detail stuff.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on why, but the way the camera kind of would like swoosh and like how they would do cuts through between scenes and stuff, it felt very 90s. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it felt very dated watching it now.
Yeah.
It felt very of its time.
Yeah. It didn't take away a whole lot, but it definitely, like, when I saw it, I was like, yep, 90s. I think we even said that out loud while we were watching it.
Yeah,
I think so.
the most 90s part for me was when Josh at the beginning when they're playing tennis and he goes to leave and he jumps through the passenger seat of his convertible and then he turns on like whatever 90s generic rock music.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of like if somebody does remote start on their car and like it's playing like despite all my red guys, ready to go. Just something like that.
But what did you think of Robert Englund in the movie, Tasha?
I liked him. I wish there was a little bit more showtime with him, though.
I'm really surprised that the villain in this movie didn't get like he didn't become like a cult classic like some of the other ones because I thought he was that fun and that entertaining. Like he's not up there with Freddy and Jason.
No.
Don't get me wrong, but like I'm just surprised that he's not as memorable as.
I mean, many people
I
knows
see
what
that.
Wishmaster is, to be honest with you.
No, I hadn't heard of it. I found this movie because I was looking. It was like the 50 best horror movies you've ever seen. I don't know if I'd agree with this being on there or not, but I kind of agree with Mike that I thought the makeup effects in this movie were awesome. Like the kills were great. The look of the Jinn himself was awesome. So he looked very iconic. So it's
Yeah.
like where his character wasn't necessarily memorable, his look I think was. But
He definitely well, even though this movie came out before Jeepers Creepers, I think they look quite similar.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen it.
You guys think this would make a good Halloween Horror Nights house?
No.
No?
no, I don't. This movie, I mean, I'm not scared by a lot of movies anymore, but I couldn't even find the scares in this movie. It felt very, it was like the most watered down.
Yeah, it's not really a horror movie. And even though this is a horror podcast, it looked like it was from the description, but I wouldn't even really classify it completely as one. Like it technically is, but I get what you're saying. It's a horror movie in the same vein that Zombievers is a horror movie.
But it's like a horror movie. I think it was rated R because they said the F word a few times, but it could have, if they had taken that out, it could have easily been like a PG-13 horror movie. It was like geared for 15-year-old kids, kind of, in terms of the scare level.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed.
But I mean, that didn't take away from it for me. I had fun watching this. My favorite part was watching the kills and the effects. Like at the very beginning, like one of the first kills is this skeleton like coming out of the skin of a guy and like getting up and running away. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, the kills are really creative. That's why. That's one of the reasons why I was saying I'm surprised that it didn't catch on a little bit more than it could have, because the kills were so creative and the story was okay. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's got that feel to me. Maybe it's because it didn't come out in the '80s.
There were a bunch of sequels.
I said it didn't come out in the '80s. So maybe it's because it didn't come out in the '80s.
Well, to be honest, Scream came out in this basic same year, and it's got more.
Maybe that's why. Did Scream come out earlier in the year?
95, maybe 96.
Well, in like the history of horror, the 90s are generally regarded as kind of like a dry time, right? Because it was after, like, the slashers in the 80s were so big, they were very popular, and then Scream kind of reinvigorated the horror genre. So this movie kind of felt like they were just trying to they wanted to do a horror movie, but they really weren't sure what to do that was different or new.
Yeah,
So it was
I
kind
have to agree.
Yeah. So you guys ready to go into ratings for this one and move on?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I forgot to ask you all this time for the last movie, but any departing words for it?
Nope.
All right.
Or
So
Wishmaster.
So what's your rating, Jake? We always let the person who recommended rate first, or we try to.
I would give it a 6 out of 10, like a slightly above average movie.
Yeah.
Like I said a million times, the plot was not great, but seeing the cameos of like Freddy and Jason and kind of famous, and Ted Raimi from Evil Dead, that whole team of people, he was in it as well. It was cool seeing that, and the effects were awesome. I think Tom Savini did the effects again. He got a lot better from Dawn of the Dead with the Greys zombies, and yeah, I had fun with it overall. But I don't know. I would probably watch it again, but I'm not going to rush to watch it again.
Yeah. Okay. Good review. I'm gonna give it. I'm also gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Thought it was above average. I enjoyed it. Even as far as campy movies go, it's not my favorite, but I can definitely see myself revisiting this film. Just when I feel like, putting something on in the background that you don't really have to pay close attention to, that you can sort of laugh out every now and again and just enjoy. So yeah, I think it has its place in any horror catalog, and I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
Ooh, tough critic.
Yes, I am. I do like the makeup. They did, a great job because I look at stuff like that. And again, like Jake said, the cameos. But it was hard for me to follow it, so that's why it got applied for me.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty. We all seem to pretty much agree on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Except Mike, based on your 2 reviews, you think this is better than The Exorcist.
Yep. I enjoy it more.
I would have to disagree with you on this.
Okay.
And now all the viewers are smashing that dislike button.
Let us know in the comments how wrong Mike is. Be as explicit as possible.
Yeah. Please be as mean as you possibly can and personally insult me and my family.
I don't think so.
Tosh is my family, so you'll have to insult Tasha too, since she's my wife. But I
Be
guess
nice to Tasha.
new listeners might not even know. So, anyways,
So on the Creepshow?
yeah, Creepshow. So Tasha recommended this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and let her speak instead of talking over her. Here you go.
Okay, it's going to be brief because there's not a whole lot to tell in the summary. But it's directed by Stephen King and George Romero, and it's based on a comic book. It's 5 short stories, so it's an anthological horror.
Cool. Yeah, so I love anthologies, but they're so hard to come by. You don't really see that format used in filmmaking. I think it's so underutilized. Because if you see a good anthology movie, it's like poisonous because you can't stop thinking about it, you can't stop watching it. Same thing with Trick or Treat as this one, when you have a bunch of interconnected stories that sort of all weave together. So I really liked this movie, and I can't wait to talk about it. I don't want to completely dominate the discussion on this one, but I do have a lot to say. I'll open things up with saying my favorite story of the anthology was the one of the monster that was in the chest.
The Crate.
The crate. So I just call it the crate.
Well, that's what the short's called.
And then, I thought that the wife was really mean, but reminded me a lot of you. So I was like, I'll speed you the monster.
Wow.
I was just kidding.
Well, the husband was kind of a dick, so.
Yeah.
You.
Nah, I was planning on saying that for like 2 weeks. I kept it to myself though, of course. But yeah, I liked that story because you never knew what was going to happen. Like I didn't know whether he was going to feed her to that or not. And sometimes you wonder why characters do illogical things. Tasha hates the last one because of the bugs. So why don't you talk about that, Tasha?
I just have a paranoia when it comes to bug movies. It feels like they're crawling all over me, and I could kind of sympathize with the doctor guy. It's like because he don't like bugs in his house, and
Yeah, I was like touching Tasha with my fingers like this, like.
yeah, he was trying to make me all freaked out.
Yeah, that the finale kind of caught me by surprise. I thought the crate was going to be the finale, because I think the last story is only about 10 minutes. So I was like, oh, surely the crate's the end. We're getting near the runtime, but yeah, I enjoyed the last one.
See, I like honestly all of them except for the last one and the one about the meteor, which this time I didn't realize the guy who played in the meteor was actually Stephen King. So I was kind of impressed. It's like because I've watched this movie so many times and never picked up on it.
Yeah, and so if you're listening, the meteor, it just means it's the one where the guy gets like he becomes a plant.
Yeah, it's honestly it's the second story in the movie. So
yeah, he becomes a plant, and I thought that was interesting because he's like almost like a hillbilly-esque character, and he's like, "What's going on?" And
yeah, I thought I recognized it was Stephen King, and then I wrote in my notes, of course Stephen King put himself in this.
Yeah, he usually does.
But Stephen King was very over the top, and I thought it was personally, I thought he was too much. I didn't think he was I don't think he was the right fit for that character.
No, he definitely was not. Which surprised me when he played that role. I was like, that doesn't seem like a fitting role for him.
I think he was just it was the 80s, so he was all coked out, and he was just like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to let Horror Nights have it.
Well, no, actually, funny you say that. Hollywood's getting a Creepshow house this year, but we're not in Orlando.
I saw that, yes.
What the heck?
Well, they're billing it as George A. Romero's Creepshow, so Stephen King's name is nowhere to be found.
Because technically he did do it, and Stephen King just helped.
Yeah, I think Stephen King wrote it, or
Yeah.
maybe George A. Romero wrote. Did he help write it too?
I think Stephen King wrote it, and then George Romero directed it.
Okay.
Yeah, Stephen King does not like haunted houses. Not one bit.
Well, specifically horror nights for some reason.
Yeah. I want to make like a fake meme quote that has like him. And
So, Jake, which one was your favorite story in the set?
I enjoyed the it was the Tide one. I think it's like
Yes.
something to tide you over or something like that.
Tied You Over?
Mhm.
That was one of my
where
favorites.
like buries the dude till his neck's facing up.
Yep.
Or till it's
And-
only his neck out of the sand.
I enjoyed that because I thought the story was was creepy. Just the idea of being buried up to your neck, not being able to move, and basically drowning slowly. That's a pretty terrifying thought. And
Yeah.
I thought Leslie Nielsen, the old guy with the white hair that was the crazy
Yeah.
rich guy that was doing the burying, he was amazing. He was such a
yeah.
good actor, and he was
Yeah.
perfect for that role because he was just very sinister and like very deadpan. He just seemed so emotionally detached, and it was really unnerving. I thought that was the best. He was the best character, but at the same time, Ted Danson probably gave one of the worst performances in the movie, so he kind of took me out of it. But Leslie Nielsen did well enough that
Yeah,
carried it for me.
yeah, that one's my favorite, and I really like the very first one, the Father's Day one. I think that one's kind of fun to watch.
I need to rewatch that one because whenever I watch a movie, sometimes it takes me about 10 minutes to sort of get like really detailed in the way that I pay attention. And I was watching it, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
A criticism, not a small or not a big one, but when I watched the beach one, where he was burying his head and stuff, one of the things I was thinking is like, how does this guy have all this like really sophisticated equipment for the time? Like he's got a lot of wireless video transmission that seems to be nearly instantaneous over the network.
Yeah, and he's got like a monitor on the beach with a cable running to God knows where.
Yeah, like as a person that like sets up streaming stuff nowadays, like to a pretty detailed capacity, I was really trying to work out how the heck he was getting it with the technology back then. But I can only think that his home is like on the beach and he just has really, really, really long cables.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, I think he does have one that was close to the beach.
Because he just kept driving over there and stuff, so I assume it's like really close by.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that's a really long cables. And also, if anything happens to any point of the cable, it's just going to mess it all up. So it'd be fine.
Well, did it hurt you when the monitors just got like washed out into the beach and buried in the sand and like all the equipment was ruined?
Yeah, I was like, what does this guy do for a living that he could just constantly waste the TVs? Because couldn't he just like set the TV farther back? Like he's like, no, my victim has to have a pristine view.
Well,
only the best for my victims.
Was he like Jigsaw where he did this just to random people? I thought it was more of he was getting revenge on this guy and his girlfriend specifically.
Yes.
Yeah, he was getting revenge because I think the woman was his wife and she was cheating on him with Ted Danson.
Okay.
And he found out about it.
Yeah. Because I think that's what the plot was. But at the same time, you know, it was an infidelity plot, but at the same time, I did get the sense for some reason he was like well practiced in doing what he was doing. I don't know why, but
Yeah, it seemed very methodical. Like
yeah. Like
he had
effortless.
everything planned out.
Yeah. Not only was the plan really detailed, but it seemed like he'd done it tons of times because it was effortless. Like, the way he did it was like very formulaic. And I was
Yeah.
like, you give me the impression that you've done this before. But
Or that he's just, practiced over time, so he was ready to do it. Got it. Get it all set up.
yeah, risk getting caught and
Mhm.
drowning a bunch of people. I guess if you would have done that, then there'd be a lot more zombies, though. So I'm probably wrong in that.
I don't know. What did you think of the zombie makeup for? I thought it was really cool. It was some of my favorite.
He's definitely improved to zombie makeup.
Yeah, I think that this movie, because of that, and because of the monster and the bugs and everything, I think this movie could actually be one of the campy Halloween Horror Nights houses. It never will be because it doesn't have any following or anything for Orlando, at least. Like, I don't think they'll get it over there. Maybe they will, though, because they have it in Hollywood. But
I really think it will be in Orlando next year for 30. Unless it really doesn't. Unless it's very unpopular in Hollywood, it's for sure going to come to Orlando next year.
I really hope, because it's always one of my favorites. And if you like Creepshow 1, there is 2 sequels as well, 2 and 3. So
it was a TV show for a while too, wasn't it?
actually, it's getting ready to start on Shudder as of next month.
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're excited about it. And by the way, if you want our Shudder login, let me know. I think we have a few streams at once, and we don't share it because nobody else we know likes horror.
That's illegal, Michael.
No, it's not. You get
we pay for this
it's illegal in the same way that like sharing Netflix is, which is not. Like,
Yeah, I don't believe in illegal activity.
all right.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Man, I felt like I had so much more to say about it, but like you guys covered almost everything that I wanted to say, and we're not gonna. Like a lot of it, especially the bug one in the end, almost gave me a mild like non-technology Black Mirror feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like in its presentation, cinematography, acting, like the whole thing gave me that Black Mirror vibe. Even though it was way before Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah.
I was just thinking about it while I was watching it. Like,
What's also cool, Jake and Mike does own the comic book.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that this was that movie because I hadn't seen this movie until now, but I had heard of it. But I had the comic book for a couple years, and I had read it, and I'm watching the first skit or the first story, and I'm like, this sounds really familiar. And I didn't connect that this was that same comic book.
Yeah, I've seen it on their table. I've skimmed through it a couple times when we were there.
yeah, crazy cool.
Anything else?
Well, I'll say I really liked how they incorporated the comic book look and feel. Kind of, like there was a certain point in every story where the escalation had where they had either revealed the monster or the horror was escalating, so they would kind of switch. The lighting would change to like a more colorful.
Cartoon.
And they would the cartoony, and they would actually like cut to shots of where it would be a frame, like it would look like it was in a comic book. I thought that was really cool and really fit with the movie.
And then I also like when you flip through it, there was like an ad for a voodoo doll that he clipped out.
That was fun.
Yeah. The movie had a lot of heart. I felt like I could tell everybody involved like was into it, including the editors and everything. And yeah, I mean, you guys already ready to go into ratings? Do you have a lot more to say?
I'm ready whenever anybody else is.
Well, the only other thing was at the beginning when the father was like, it was the perfect scene to start on because the father is just like, what is this horror crap? What crap is this? This is crap. This crap is crap. It was just like the most time anyone has ever said crap, and I was just laughing so hard at that.
Yeah. If crap was
it was
the
a
word
great way to set the mood, and just kind of where the dad was like, these these gravestones and these ghouls coming out. This is just unnatural. Why would anyone do that? Like, read this and just
Yeah.
it felt funny just because that's kind of people that don't like horror at all. That's just what they think. They think it's just you have to be mentally
Good point.
and
Good
like a murderer
point.
to like horror. So
Then the son has a comment. It's like, well, then it's better than those books under your mattress on my Playboys.
Ooh, what
Yeah,
a comeback. Yeah.
And then that's when he backhanded them.
Yeah.
And then it was very validating at the end when he uses the voodoo doll on
Oh,
the dad.
yes. Very much.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you to throw my book away.
And then the dad went on to save Halloween.
Yeah, the whole movie reminded me of that intro scene of Tenacious D. You know where the dad's being mean to. Yeah, you guys have never seen Tenacious D?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
All right, well,
it wasn't.
I'll get right off though. No, it wasn't. But I need to rewatch that one. That's a good movie. I watch Scott Pilgrim like once every 3 days, so I need to like watch Tenacious D some too.
Broaden your movie.
I think for non-horror, Scott Pilgrim is becoming my favorite movie. Because I liked it okay when it first came out. I'll be quick on this. I know this is a horror podcast, but I just wanted to say, and it reminded me of it because the musical number thing from Tenacious D. But I just wanted to say that I feel like that the characters in that movie just really make it shine for me. Like just a bunch of hipsters. It's really cool. All right. Creepshow. I'm going to go ahead and score it first.
Well, I know I'm a little biased. It's one of my personal faves, so I'm going to give it 8.5.
Ooh. You can't give a half.
That's
the
can do
rules.
whatever I want.
You might as well rate it out of 20 if you're going to do that.
All right, then a 9.
9 out of 20?
No, a 9 out of 10.
I know, this is not so much. I was like, man, you just bumped it way back. Okay, I think I'm going to give it an 8. It might even grow on me to be a 9. I have to watch it a couple more times, but tentatively, it's an 8. It's that good. I like it.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 7. I had a lot of fun watching it. I just thought overall the acting in it was not good, but given the subject matter and the campiness of the movie, I excused it, but it just felt like Stephen King and especially Ted Danson. It's just like they were phoning it in, or maybe not Stephen King. He was just trying too hard, but Ted Danson was phoning it in, and some of the performances took me out of it, but overall I loved it, and I definitely would watch this again and will watch this again.
Fair enough.
Are you happy with that, Tasha?
Yeah, you can rate whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm my own person.
I mean,
I was just playing with you because I wanted to give you a chance to argue with him since it's one of your favorites.
No.
Podcast listeners love drama, so I just wanted to give it a chance
It's
to
fair.
unfold.
Go ahead.
We're too nice and polite to each other. That's why
Your opinion's fucking stupid.
I hate you.
All right, go ahead and start yours, Mike.
All right, so my pick was In Fear. So In Fear is a movie about mostly two characters in a car. And so it opens up, and if you're not paying attention for the first 10 minutes, you'll lose the whole movie. So if you're watching this and you're going to listen to our review and then watch the movie, pay extra special, super close attention to the first 10 minutes at the bar. Otherwise, you won't understand the rest. So the two characters are tentatively together. They've been together for around 2 weeks. They met, and the guy would like to have sex with her for the first time. So he wants to take her to a hotel before they go to a music festival to meet their friends. And they want to show up to the music festival a little late. So he books the hotel online. For some reason, he prints out the webpage, which I thought was a really old man move to do. But anyways, he prints out the website, and then they go into a bar to stop. The woman has to pee, and the guy's going to get a quick drink and all that. The guy pisses off some people in the bar. and she scribbles something out, which never comes to light in the movie, by the way. But she scribbles out on the wall where like and mocks the message that somebody wrote, and somebody was looking through the hole and saw her do that. So it's two rude people at the bar. They took offense because it's Ireland, and then decided to like slaughter them because they were rude to them in a bar because it's Ireland. So, then they drive and drive with each other, and I'm almost done. I know I'm going really detailed, but they drive and drive with each other, and they realize that they cannot find the hotel using the directions because the directions on the website are inaccurate, and so is the signs that are on the road. They keep moving the signs around and just psychologically messing with them. So they get lost. It gets dark. They start running out of gas because they're just driving around in circles. And then it slowly unfolds where the guy who trapped them there gets in their car and messes with them. And it's just pretty much a psychologically torturous time where he like intends to kill them. He tells his own backstory where when he was a kid, he stepped out into the road intentionally and made a car veer off the road intentionally, and then like he loved it because it killed the driver, so he decided he was going to do that more. But then it happens at the end of the movie, and she runs his ass over. It cuts right before he runs his ass over, but like there's no way she could have stopped in time because it cuts like a second before, or like a fraction of a second. So like that's not really an ambiguous ending because it's like right there, like there it is type of situations.
Well, I totally missed the backstory on the killer then, because I don't remember the part about when he was a kid he stood in the road and made a car swerve off, because when I got to the ending I was like, what the fuck? What happened? So
this is around the 10th time I've seen this movie, and I just noticed it that time, so don't feel bad. The first time I didn't even know why they were being targeted. I thought it was multiple people targeting them. Also, the guy must be like a web developer or something because he made a pretty convincing website to lure people there. And there was obviously a lot of people he's done that to because there was a whole pile of like vehicles of people he's lured to the hotel and killed. So
yeah, Squarespace is a killer, man. It powers a lot of murderers.
Build your website. Speaking of which, this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor, Squarespace, Wix, WordPress. We took all their money and we're doing sponsorship for all of them.
If we were a real podcast, we would have that Squarespace sponsorship. Not anymore, though.
Wasn't it in the scene where all three of them was in the car when he was talking about it?
Yeah, so he told the story as he was bleeding in the back, and they were sort of riding down the road. So you'd have to rewatch the sequence where he's in the back seat to really fully appreciate the backstory and like everything. Because really this movie is more about the torture. And so when he kills the guy, he puts him in the trunk and he tapes sort of like a pipe to him that is inside of the exhaust. So when she starts the car, she technically kills him because, you know, she's the one that did the ignition. He made them drive out of gas out of desperation, and then he filled the gas tank up himself so he could keep fucking with them. So pretty funny.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was filling it up either, because they kept driving and driving, and I was like, when are they going to run out of gas?
No, they're driving a Tesla. It's electric. No, just kidding. No, there's definitely a part where they run out of gas, and that's when the guy dies, because I think he left the gas can in her back seat so she could fill it up.
Oh yeah, so that was it. I thought you were saying he was like secretly filling up the tank throughout the night when they would. Okay.
No. Yeah, they were low for a long time, so I can yield that. And you don't know who lives in the house. I can only assume it's him, but I thought, yeah, he probably lives in the house, but like, you know, the hotel over there, I guess, is kind of like beat up and stuff, so it's probably not that. Maybe he bought the domain name for the real hotel that used to be there.
Yeah, possibly, or... Yeah, I don't see how it could be one person, honestly. I mean, it's a movie, so suspend your disbelief, but just the logistics of how the guy kept just popping up. Like when the driver guy, I don't remember his name, when he got out to take a pee and the guy was like right behind him, and then later on they're driving down and he's up on the hill, perfectly timed to get hit by the headlights passing by.
It's implied that there's multiple guys, but for some reason, on repeat viewings, I get the impression that the movie's trying to tell you that it's him. Because, when he does the backstory, he says, like, this one guy, he runs the gang, and he did the thing with the cars where he intentionally wrecked that car. And so he says, okay, he runs the gang, so you think there's multiple people. And then he cuts down the tree at the perfect time and stuff. There's a lot of, like, weird things that happen in the script that is like, come on, man. But
between also changing all the signs, that would be a lot of work for one person, I would think.
Yeah. It's an interesting low-budget movie, though. So, like, Jake, especially, so I know Tasha's feelings on this, and I'm going to give her time to do that, too. And I'm sorry I'm dominating so much. But, Jake, how did you feel about the overall movie? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Tell me your thoughts.
I enjoyed it overall. It kept me engaged the whole time. I mean, like you said, it's a movie with two people in a car. So just based on the premise, you're like, this is going to be so boring, and you're just going to be watching the runtime meter the whole way through. But they did a great job. Is anytime I kind of started to get bored, they would stop and get out of the car, or they would try to drive through the woods to get to the road, and then the tree would fall, or the guy would come out of the darkness when he was taking a pee. It was just, there was the scares and kind of the scenes were perfectly timed. Just whenever there would be almost a lull, they would do something else. So it was very well paced, and I was into the story the entire way through.
Did it scare you? Did the movie scare you at all? Did you feel any dread or fear while you were watching?
Not particularly. I guess in terms of dread, or just kind of a familiar feeling, is when the shots when they're driving and the sun's kind of setting, and it would just kind of show the trees through the windshield as the car's driving through, and just it would slowly be getting darker and darker. That kind of is a little unsettling. Like, I'm sure everyone's had that feeling where you're driving somewhere, you don't know where you are, and the sun's slowly starting to go down and you're lost and you don't really know. So that, I guess it did instill a little bit of dread in that sense. Just that familiar idea that everyone is just being lost in the woods at night, low on gas, is a scary idea.
So on like the 10th viewing, I thought of something, and I was like, if they've established that there's one spot that they know how to get to that has cell phone signal, then I don't know why they didn't just go back there and try to call the police. Because she called the hotel from that spot. At least that one spot has it.
Was that the first place they stopped?
So no, it wasn't the house. It was like almost to where when they cut the tree down in the forest. It was like kind of farther in.
Was it the time when they went and left and the car alarm was going off when they came back? Towards the beginning? Okay.
Now, did you guys feel like that they had like a pretty accurate relationship for somebody, for a couple that's been together for 2 weeks, or did they seem like they'd been together longer?
They seemed pretty distant, like it's only been a few weeks. They weren't very close.
I agree. I thought the chemistry was right, because they had decent chemistry, but then at the beginning they had that kind of new couple chemistry when they were like making out on the hood of the car, and then just as shit got real, it became very clear that they didn't really know each other that well.
Yeah, because we haven't talked a whole lot about like the characters as individuals. So that's why I was wondering.
I mean, you could also tell that, like, when stuff was getting real, they's like, basically, it's like, oh, we're not together anymore. Also.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's constantly like after he's sitting there. I did notice that there was an undertone of theme in the movie where, like, when you first start dating somebody, you don't really know who they are. Mm-hmm. So, like, she's in this situation with someone, and she's like, "Is this guy part of it? Like, is he messing with me?" Type of situation. You can't know that, and then he starts to unfold some of his negative attitude, which I didn't realize my first few viewings when I was like, we first watched this movie. I was around 5 years ago. I was about 5 years younger. I was about 21 years old. And I thought, okay, the guy is a nice guy and the other guy's being a douche to him. But then when I rewatched it, not only are they in this situation and he's making it worse by like binge drinking and stuff like that, but he's just acting like a total jerk the whole time.
Well,
I actually got a really negative opinion of him. Like, not as the actor. The actor killed it in his part, but the character.
in my personal belief, if I'm only dating somebody for 2 weeks, I'm not going on a trip with them.
Yeah.
At least solo.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be a solo trip.
I still.
Yeah, but
I still wouldn't ride in the car because you never know.
She should have rode over with her friends.
That's what I would be implying.
When this guy you've only known for 2 weeks says, "I booked us a hotel, it's very secluded," just say, "No, we're going to meet up with our friends."
Yeah. Credits roll. Yeah, and then you had the woman whom I felt sorry for the whole time. But at the same time, she was not trolled like he was by the guy, even though the guy knew she had like written on the wall, which I would argue is worse than going and getting into a disrespectful altercation. Because the altercation, you can forget about it 15 minutes later. You damage somebody's wall in their property and you write on it, that's, in my opinion, a more serious offense.
Well, not necessarily, because he shouldn't have been spying on her in the ladies' room. Because honestly, he shouldn't be doing that. And if he didn't do that, then he would never know that she did that.
Yeah, that's a given. Like in a normal circumstance, no, you shouldn't spy on people in the bathroom.
Yeah, you think she'd notice that eyeball there on the wall? Like it's a pretty big hole, and he's just like.
Yeah, or she would feel the draft, just like, ooh, where's that chill coming from?
Yeah.
Why do I hear heavy breathing? It's like, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think what the guy did at the bar probably was. What are you waiting?
Mike?
Oh, there's a creeper behind me in the window, apparently.
Watching you in the stall. Or you're trying to take a shit.
I forget what I was saying.
Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mikey. Oh, for the viewers, Mikey came in the background. I was waving outside Jake's window because he's bored. Yeah. I guess.
Well, no, he's been out with his friends, so that's just him coming home, apparently.
Oh. Anything else on it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I emphasized this, but I noticed on this viewing that she wasn't made to be broken down and admit what she did. So like I said, what she did is arguably worse, and she didn't have to admit anything for it. And she made such a big deal about the guy just being rude in a bar, but she had done something over there too. Yeah. So you everybody in this movie is kind of a small butthole in a small sense.
But wasn't she, when she was covering up the thing, she was wasn't it like a slur or some negative something she was crossing out on the wall?
Yeah, I think it was.
And I mean, to Tasha's point, she didn't know that they knew she had done that because she was in the bathroom. So
it wasn't a slur. It was she wrote "or not" at the end, so it was like some kind of word of wisdom thing. But it wasn't. It was a negative word of wisdom.
But again, back to the privacy.
People get what they deserve for something like that, and she's like, "or not" at the end. Just something like that. I
thought it was something like derogatory against women, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, I didn't pause on that, so if I said that and it is derogatory, please know that I don't remember what it is, and I'm not saying that the term is not derogatory if it is. Like, this guy hates The Exorcist, and he hates women, too. Just like...
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. So yeah, this one's one of my favorites. I do get the feeling like if anybody was talented enough, they could make this movie. Like anybody could make this movie, and that's really I love movies where it's like that. Like nobody, like not everybody could make like the Avengers or something like that, but anybody could make this movie because of the detail and the small things. It's like two people, car, headlights, like maybe some lights. So you got to have a minimum amount of equipment to do it, but you have to have a lot of talent to pull it off in the same way that they did.
Well, going back to what you said earlier, you think you enjoyed this movie more than It Follows?
Yeah, this one over time has become one of my favorites. I know I say that about all my recommendations, but that's because I only recommend like my favorite stuff. And this is one of my favorite indie, like ultra low budget movies of all time.
Yeah, I think it or go ahead, Tasha.
Oh, I was saying the same thing.
I saw we found it at Redbox originally. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that real quick. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it sort of reminded me of It Follows in a way in terms of the plot, because it was a very simple plot that kind of both that and well, It Follows, if you're not familiar, it's basically like there's this like demon or entity that is an STD basically, and it's transmitted to people that have sex, and then it kind of goes down the line, and then it's trying to kill whoever the last person was. But it's kind of the same, taking like an everyday activity like driving in a car or having sex and kind of putting this dread behind it in a way that it's over the top, but it feels like something that could happen. Like it's kind of like Black Mirror, where it's something that is not technically plausible, but it feels like it could happen at some point, where like you could be driving down the road and there's this crazy person that kills you, or you could get an STD and be killed, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, as a result. Yeah.
But in terms of like but for me personally, the dread I felt from It Follows, just the idea of this entity that's always walking towards you and you don't know what it looks like and you don't know where it is and when it's going to get to you, that filled me with much more like dread and fear than this movie did, personally.
Okay, fair enough. That really reminded me of one last thing that I desperately wanted to remember to say, and that is I almost forget about this, so this will be forever now since it's on the podcast. But when I first watched this movie, I thought that it was going to go in the paranormal direction, because I still don't, after the 10th viewing, I still don't understand how he pulled her hair and then disappeared like a ghost at the beginning. So I felt like it was going to be a haunted woods, and I do kind of almost wish it would have went in that direction with the same exact story, but the guy is like a ghost or something like that. I know that most people would probably disagree with that, and that's okay. You know, that would be way less realistic, obviously, and I do think the movie nailed what it went for. But I was genuinely scared, even though I don't believe in ghosts, and like I obviously believe that there are crazy people out there, so it's like, you know, it's more realistic and it's more scary on paper. I was more scared until I found out that it was just a guy being a jerk. But that's just me.
Well, what if it was both, Mike? Or, like we said earlier, we didn't feel like it could have been one person doing all this. What if it was one guy and a bunch of ghosts?
It's possible.
The movie just got upgraded for me then. I'd bump it up to a 10 out of 10.
Watch it through that lens next time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally will.
Now I think or are we going towards ratings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like overall summaries?
Yeah.
Oh, can I do mine first since it's mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I'll let you. We'll let you have the last word. That way, you know, since you sound like you got a lot you want to say for closing. So I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. With the budget and with the cast and with everything, I don't really feel like that they could have made a whole lot of significant improvements. I've never seen a story exactly like this story, but better. So really, it's the benchmark for a story of that type. If I want to do two characters in the woods in a car, I'm gonna watch this movie right before I do it. If I was gonna try to direct a movie and spend somebody's $100,000 wisely or something like that, I would watch this movie because it is the pinnacle of that premise, in my opinion. So, I mean, the reason why I don't give it a 10 out of 10 and I give it a 9 out of 10, even though it's one of my favorites and I'm sounding like, oh, I'm saying it like it's flawless, is because I feel like the creep factor could have been just a little higher. Like, out of my horror movies, especially something with such a serious indie tone as this one, I really want to fear walking about my house at night. I can still get that out of some movies. It's still possible for me to get that out of some movies, even though I've watched tons of horror. And I didn't quite get that as intensely from this movie as I wanted. So that's what I have to say about it. I hope I don't regret not saying something because we'll never revisit, or anything. But yeah, that's what I have to say.
Okay. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of the roads they rode on was like some of them back at home. They're pretty terrifying to go down. And
yeah. It's like our hometown.
Yeah, it's like our hometown. I did like it better this time. I have seen it a few times in the past. And that's pretty much it. Jake?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I guess I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because like I said earlier, I think it did, in terms of like the story and the editing and just the pacing of the story, it was A+. It kept me interested the whole time. I cared about the characters and kind of what happened to them. The characters felt believable. So as a movie, it was very effective and it did what it needed to do. But kind of like what Mike said, I felt like the horror and the dread could have been done up better. And I think for me, kind of what I learned at the beginning when you said that the backstory of the killer, that he had already run a car off the road when he was a kid and the ending was kind of meant to be a full circle moment for him, that kind of took it down a notch for me. Because while I thought when I got to the end of the movie, I was like, what just happened? But I kind of liked that ambiguity because that's the type of horror I like, because I'm very much in the camp of less is more with horror. Like, don't tell me tell me a little bit of the motivation of the killer, but don't tell me the whole thing, So I think for me, I kind of liked on my first viewing the ambiguity of the ending, and I think if they had maybe played with the idea of like introducing maybe it's paranormal, but not really explaining that and not validating it, but just kind of introducing this idea that maybe it's this, maybe it's that would have intrigued me more on like watching it again or just kind of thinking about the movie more going forward. But overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I really, listening to that review made me really, really happy. So I'm glad that you felt that way about it. I if I can comment on your review a little bit, I totally agree with everything you said. I think that what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I did want to add something that I thought was significant to it. I know that we both worked together as web developers at one point. And I just thought it was funny that back then when you were teaching me web development, we made fun of this woman who sent us like a printed out website, and the guy ended up printing out the website in the movie, and I just thought that was so funny for some reason.
Well, I took that as maybe it's just because it was so secluded, he wasn't sure if he would have had cell service.
Yeah.
So that was kind of me retconning my own reason why he had printed out the directions.
Well, they had like MapQuest back, It would be a lot more specific if you printed out MapQuest.
The movie's not that old, right? It's like maybe 5-6 years old.
Mhm.
I think it came out in 2011 or so. So it's like right before the smartphone revolution. I do believe.
Okay.
The
Okay,
smartphone was a flip phone.
that's excusable then.
Yeah. But didn't he have built-in GPS in his car? He had like a high-tech car. Really nice car for the time.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I can say from personal experience, when I was in Ireland, the GPS didn't work for shit.
Don't you guys? Okay, I know I'm not trying to wrap the whole podcast in this one, so I promise this is the last thing. But for some reason, I really like the shot of when they're going in and with the gate and stuff. When like he takes the chains off of the gate and it's got the long road and it just shows how beautiful Ireland is, and just that intro cinematography sequence before they're trapped in the car, you can really tell that like the color grading, the framing, all that stuff is just beautiful in that section. So if you happen to be listening to this because like you're looking for in fear stuff all day, great job everybody involved. Thumbs up. One of my favorite ones. Keep doing what you do.
Well, I can say that I don't think the in-fear audience is that big, because I was trying, with the ambiguous ending, I tried to look up like a explain this ending video,
Yeah.
and there's like maybe one review of In Fear on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it does not have a whole lot of following at all. So maybe we'll get some YouTube SEO for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fear
you got to put In Fear in the copy like 20 times. In Fear movie, 2011.
In Fear movie review. In Fear movie critique. In Fear ending explained.
There you go.
I'm not gonna do that, guys. I'm just gonna put the title and stuff. Cause I'm not about maximizing that ad revenue. Oh yeah, we got it. Remember you said we got to get that ad revenue up. Like the first podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm getting ad revenue. I don't know about you all, but I got my cut last month.
Yeah, your cut of 3 cents.
Huh? I didn't hear it. I didn't check.
Yeah. You didn't check on the ad revenue, I know.
Yep.
You didn't see me steal all the money out of the account. I stole $2,000. And then I said,
a lot. That's more than I would have expected for episode 3.
Yeah. We had, and then I was like, oh man, we only made 3 cents from this one.
All
No,
right.
we made 0 cents.
Y'all want to go ahead and say the recommendations for next month?
Yeah. So next month we will be recording together in Orlando. We're going to Halloween Horror Nights. If you want to catch us there, we'll be there between September 5th and the opening weekend in Orlando in Halloween Horror Nights. You can see our faces in the beginning of it. If you want to say hi to us, we'll be there. Don't ask us where Jake lives. We won't tell you.
And I'll be there pretty much every night of the event, so just look for the guy in the sweet Subtle Horror t-shirt, and that'll be me.
Yeah, we're going to be there opening night. And so I guess that goes perfectly into my recommendation. So my recommendation is going to be Us, because we need to watch it in preparation for the house anyways. And I'm a huge fan of it, and I've been trying to get Tasha to watch it. I'm going to say, this is a time capsule moment. I'm going to say in advance that I think Tasha probably will like it better than Jordan Peele's first movie, but not very much, because she didn't like his first movie.
No.
That's funny, because I was going to rewatch Us this coming week, because I enjoyed it in the theater. I think I told my theater experience last time, but I didn't have a great experience. So I think watching it at home will do it much better justice.
Yeah, if you guys want to hear the story behind that, it's in the ending of last episode, I think. Not the last 10 seconds, but it's in there after the last title card.
So, which mine also fits as well. I am going to do Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh yeah, we're doing the prep podcast.
So,
oh yeah, go ahead and say Josh's
and
too.
Josh's is going to be the 1976 Stephen King's Carrie.
Okay.
And
All stuff I've seen, but that's okay.
Jake, you're up.
Mine is. I'm taking another shot in the dark here, but since my last 2 months have been kind of mediocre, I'm going with a movie that's much more critically acclaimed, but I have never seen. It's Hellraiser.
Oh yes, Joe Bob Briggs. I was meaning to watch it anyway.
Okay, so if you guys are watching, or sorry, listening, if you're listening to this, and you have Shudder or you have a way to access Joe Bob Briggs, watch it with him when you watch it, because you'll get so much extra information, because he cuts away from the movie every now and again, and he just talks about that. I know we're having our horror show, and we're plugging another one, but that's okay, because we get 50 views, and he gets 1,000. It's okay. It's okay. Papa Briggs. Joe Bob Briggs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about these. I think I've seen all three except Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I
haven't seen Hellraiser.
I've seen it once, but I had a hard time getting through it the first time, but I'm going to have a different approach with Joe Bob. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to try it again.
Yeah. Speaking of, so now we can have the breakout conversation. Were you about to say something about that before I move on?
No, you're good.
Okay, so Joe Bob, we watched an episode the other day, and this is just by the way, listeners, this is the random section where we talk about random stuff before we close it out. So we watched a movie that with Tiny Tim in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the movie was called? The Joe Bob episode?
No.
Tiny Tim plays a clown in a movie, like scary clown, or supposedly scary. And he's like, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. And it's just so funny. Like, the whole movie sucks. But watching it with Joe Bob was just a pleasure.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to watch. I mean, it was cheesy, but it's not bad.
Yeah. So anyways, the reason why I'm saying that is because that movie sucks, but watching the special with Joe Bob speeds up a movie, because like if it gets slow, say it's like 25 minutes in and it's really slow and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can keep going. You know it's about to cut away to Joe Bob for like 5 minutes, and you're looking forward to that, because he's going to either tear the movie a new one, or he's going to like just give you a lot of supplemental information about the movie that's going to like raise your appreciation of it a little bit.
Well, you said Hellraiser. They have a Hellraiser one of that.
Yeah, you gotta give it a try.
I think I'm gonna have to do that this time.
Yeah.
All right, I'll send you that Shudder login.
Cool. I'll get my own account with all the ad revenue we have coming in.
Yeah, with all that Shudder revenue. Speaking of, this podcast brought to you by Shudder, Squarespace, Wix.
Shutterspace.
Shutterspace. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna watch It Part 2 when we come up there too. So when does it come out again?
Friday the 6th, the first day of Horror Nights.
Okay, so we're gonna have to probably buy tickets in advance if we're gonna go to that theater at City Walk, or we could go to the. Oh no, we can't go to the one at Disney because it'll be too far away from Horror Nights.
Well, if our listeners are excited about It Chapter 2, Jakenstein Horror Apparel has a fun It-themed t-shirt coming out on September 1st. So check out that if you want. I don't care. Actually, I do care. Please do it. And I also have a new shirt that just came out. It's a limited edition shirt. It's called the Copyright Infringers #1 Knife Glove Man. And hopefully you can figure out who that character is based off of. But it's the first in what hopefully will be a 4-part series of kind of my original take on iconic horror characters. So there's about 50 of those shirts printed. So if you're interested in one of those, check it out at my website. It's jakensteinapparel.com. And you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, where I'm going to be posting a new shirt kind of every week or every 2 weeks coming up and throughout the Halloween season. So hopefully there's a shirt you like in there. My Instagram and Facebook is at Jakenstein Apparel, and I think Twitter is Jakenstein_shop because their handle is way shorter than Instagram and it won't fit my long name. So that's about all. Thank you, everybody.